And it can be intimidating. Exactly. Like you said, these are huge purchases people are making, whether it's an investment or a home. It's emotional as well for a lot of people.
Do you have any advice for brand new agents? Let's say they just got their license, they're looking for brokerages, maybe they have picked a brokerage and they're just working in the business. The family cat?
What was the family pet?
No.
The family dog?
It was the bunny.
It was, I get my hair in the back of my neck stands up when I say it.
Welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast, where we spark conversations that set you up for real estate success. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tanya, and each week we bring you expert tips on navigating Northern Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we've got the tools to help you thrive.
Today we have a very, very exciting episode. We've been doing this for a couple months now. It's always just been me and Tanya, but we've been contemplating bringing on a guest. And who else should be our first guest than no other than Courtney Marion. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm terrified to be here.
Yes. We're terrified to have you as well. We're not sure what's going to happen. So Courtney is obviously one of our very esteemed colleagues. She's a top producer at our brokerage, but it goes beyond that. So Courtney and I met, 10 years ago now when I first got in the business, and then the year after we found ourselves on the Sudbury Real Estate Board together. You and Tanya redid our whole MLS system, and when we switched to Matrix, so we traveled the country together, really.
Yes.
All three of us. And so we had a lot of exciting times. We think the same on a lot of things, but we think differently on some things too, which I think is a very important conversation to have, especially these days. And somehow we are still friends and colleagues after this. So,
and hopefully after this as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's get straight into it. You want to ask? Go ahead, Tanya.
So our first question for you, you've been in real estate for 15 years now. I think you were licensed just a little bit before me.
Yes.
And I actually remember meeting you for the very first time. I don't know if I've told you this, but you were hosting an open house at a house in Moonglow. And I had just got my license. And one of the things one of my agents told me was to go and visit open houses to see how other agents do it.
Okay.
And you were there.
Oh, wow.
Did a great job.
I don't remember
Super
that at all.
friendly.
Oh, that's
definitely
great.
a house in Moonglow.
I still love open houses for that. And I've met many new agents in that way. So that's great that you took that advice and did it.
Yeah. So you've been in the business for 15 years, and tell us a little bit of how you got started.
So I'm born and bred in Sudbury. And my mother was a real estate agent, Marion. Very well known and very busy. So I had zero intentions of becoming a real estate agent. And I went off to school in Ottawa, Carleton, and took a BA in arts, but specialized in law. And certainly my parents thought I was going to law school next, but I had other plans.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. And I ended up in Toronto working in fashion, essentially import-export. And circumstances brought me back to Sudbury, where I ended up working local business, Reg Wilkinson's in menswear. Ran into many of my mother's colleagues, many of our colleagues now, who said, it's great that you're selling $200 pants to us, but why aren't you selling real estate like your mother? And so I was persuaded to take, the initial real estate exams and study just to see if it would fit. And lo and behold, it stuck. So,
15 years later.
Yep.
You're still doing it.
Yep.
And excelling at it.
I would think so. Yes. I'm still doing it. That's for sure. I will say I do wish I had considered it and started earlier.
Yeah.
And my education was great. My work experience was great, but I really had not considered real estate at all in my youth or at any point during my education. And it wasn't until literally I was talked into it by another realtor who said, you're crazy not to try it. And so here we are.
Do you think you were a little more apprehensive because your mom was a realtor and you didn't necessarily want to sort of step into her shoes?
Yeah, the lifestyle of a realtor, especially back in those days, was such a hand-to-hand business. So very, very busy. We were always making a stopping here. Someone's going to stop by the house. Someone's going to come to the school while you're giving your speech and sign off paperwork and this, that. And it was disruptive when you were a kid. And it wasn't something that I thought I wanted for myself. But lo and behold, that was excellent training, personality type help. But certainly the expectation when I got into the business was, all right, I'm on call and this is what it looks like. And it does.
I feel like, especially as you grow up with parents that are in the business, and it really kind of varies for the industry. But in real estate, it's either like, I want that, or I definitely do not want that. Because I know a couple other of my friends that have parents in real estate are like, there's no way I could do that.
Yes.
Like I don't want that lifestyle.
Yes.
But then there's others that are like, yeah, I'm taking over the family business and we're just going to keep carrying on. And
And I don't know where that comes from. I had no intentions, and my mother owned a brokerage and had an excellent partner and team. And there was certainly opportunity there. And I wanted something so different for myself. I have to laugh. My brother also grew up under that circumstance and ended up marrying a real estate agent who's a top performer, who is as busy, if not busier than all of us combined. So, we fell into it because real estate does offer some flexibility that other professions don't, but the responsibility also is it weighs heavy on yourself, but on your family, as you guys both know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I think as kids and young adults, we probably just have a natural rebellion to be not like our parents, a little bit different, and try to strike our own path. But then once you become a bit more of a mature adult, you kind of see that this is actually, a good business. It afforded a good lifestyle.
Yes.
And that your mom obviously did really well in the business, and it afforded you that ability to sort of see that and potentially get there as well.
And the personality type, right? There is a way of, this is such a personal job, and you're selling people's homes, which are very different than a house. And you're helping people find their first homes. And I ran into so many of my mother's clients over the years. I should have been tipped to this sooner, that they were so happy with, the home that they're in, and they thought about it with such affection. They thought of her in that way too. So it was only ever good experiences. It just simply was rebellion.
Okay, so let's switch speeds a little bit and let's talk about kind of brokerage change. Obviously, you're with one brokerage for 14 years. And then when we took over Sutton, you thought it would be a good decision to come and spend some time with the brand new hatchlings that we just let out into the public, and, just started this brokerage. So kind of talk to us about where that came from, where the decision came from to.
So with my other brokerage for 15 years, and, COVID obviously happened within that time frame. And during that specific time, a change happened within real estate, I feel, and certainly within myself, to realize just how personal I said earlier, this job is. And you really had to be very mindful when dealing with your clients, with other clients. It was such a sensitive time in real estate. And I really started to focus and hone in on my personal leaning into my strengths, let's say. And coming out of COVID and reintegrating back into offices and things like that, I feel I was feeling a little untethered, let's say, in a larger setting, in a larger sort of brand, and was looking for something that felt, again, that sort of personalized, more intimate relationship. And when you guys took over the brokerage, there were a couple of things that really led me this way. And one was our experience, obviously, on the Sudbury Real Estate Board. Both of you as presidents and working with you as directors. I really liked your style and your approach, which was, as you say, it's not always simpatico between us, but certainly we were able to see each other's sides and that sort of thing. Yeah. And I thought that setting would be a better fit at that point in my career, and also just in my view of real estate, than where I had been for so many years before.
For sure.
It's really interesting when you look at real estate agents as a whole in our industry. Sometimes there's this natural feeling of that, like, the other agent is your competition or your opposition.
Sure.
But I think the experience working on the board together, certainly we were able to have discussions and debates and be on opposite sides of a certain subject and still listen to one another and then come to a conclusion as a group together, right? So you sort of learn to work with people rather than seeing them as an opposition. I think negotiation is very similar as well, right? When you're negotiating an offer or a deal for a client, you have to be willing to work with the other party and not in opposition to the other party.
Right. And brokerage to brokerage, there's no better example of that than being on the Sudbury Real Estate Board, than being a part of that body, which is looking out for the entirety of the association. It was a great experience. I met so many agents from that tenure that we had served together that I still am incredibly friendly with and am happy to do a deal with, and definitely took that experience in my transition thinking, great, this is an opportunity to have relationships over here and to form new ones over here that I maybe, I'm no longer involved at the board level any longer. Yeah. maybe I can develop more relationships here. So it was an exciting opportunity to change that setting again.
Yeah. So when you moved Brokerages, or you're contemplating the idea of moving and making a change, did you have any sort of fears holding you back, or any concerns with doing that change?
I wouldn't say fears so much as I'm a very loyal person, sometimes to a fault, to the extent that I didn't want it to be a slap in the face of anyone. It was a decision based on my needs as a business owner, my own business, and how I'm going to serve my clients moving forward. This is a long game, this business. And for me, it was the idea that I had given my loyalty for so long, and still, really am fond of the brand. But that being said, there's another opportunity to sort of plant a flag and to get behind another business. And I was excited to do that more than anything.
So I've changed brokerages twice in my career. Obviously, one was to partner with Tanya and purchase Sutton, but I switched obviously before that as well. And those two conversations, leaving those brokerages, had to be some of the toughest conversations that I've had, because just the loyalty, growing for 5 years at a brokerage, spending that time, they spent that time on you. It's an extremely difficult thing to do, to switch brokerages, which is why, we, as leaders of this brokerage, as understand when we're out there kind of recruiting other agents and stuff, it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision for sure. So yeah.
So would you guys have any advice? So I've done it as well, but for myself, that was many years. It was more than 10 years ago since I left Royal LePage and moved over to Sutton. But do you guys have any advice for people who are maybe in that sort of mode, feeling like, you know what, maybe this isn't where I want to be. I want to make a move. How do they then go about making that decision?
My advice is just do it. If you feel stuck, you are. If you feel like you're in the mud, you are. I tried to change and adapt myself within the model that I was working within for so many years, and was really struggling. My confidence, really hit the dirt. And I was trying to fit, this round peg into a square hole that for a long time had worked, but it was no longer serving. So, when I made the decision, it was more of an instinct. It felt right. And until you're in it, you're not going to know. Yep. But where you are, if it's not working for you in this business, you do have to make the move.
Yeah. And you have completely, I have to say, you completely flourished. As soon as you hit the brokerage, you were working diligently, and you've been, one of our top award winners for 2024, and you weren't even there for the whole year 2024. So that is amazing.
Yes.
Did you change any ways of how you did business? Did you change anything in your business to achieve that?
I think what it did is consistency is key. And while I remained consistent in what I was doing, there was an extra element of reaching out to people to update them, let them know what's happening with me. We sometimes put a wall between, I'm the professional, I'm on this side. How much do you share? How much don't you? When I made the move, I thought it was really important to update my clientele and the people that I work with, professionals and otherwise, to say, I was always here to serve you before, and I'm going to continue to do so. And having those more candid conversations, or more sort of personal conversations from my side, really, really resonated. And immediately that idea of honing in on my skills and my abilities was evident immediately. And then since then, I've just continued on that path. And that's been the biggest change, is really opening myself up more to them, my clients.
Yeah. So it's having those conversations with those clients, picking up the phone and reconnecting, really.
Yes.
If you have a reason to reconnect with those clients, it just opens up that conversation, like you said, to have that conversation about where they're going.
Right. And then you're reminded that, oh, right, we had, I met your children. I remember when you were pregnant, and now your child is in high school, and these things are happening. And so we ended up having smaller, more intimate updates. I'm not, inviting them over for Christmas, and they're not, that sort of thing. But we are catching up in a way, whereas before maybe we hadn't. So yeah, having the reason to make the call and to connect. And like I say, it resonated so much with me that's what I was wanting to do more of. And like I said, I did it during the COVID time in a really, really nuanced way. And then now in this tenure as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you changed anything in your business, whether it's, marketing, lead generation? Obviously your client relationships have changed, or maybe not changed, but you've, reconnected to some people that you sold years and years ago. But have you changed anything since you've been here? Or what do you think the start of your success back in the business, what do you think that?
is attributed to.
Yeah.
I think two things. One was really honing in on that client relationship management, right? The CRM, to really hone in on that. Contacting those people, going through your list and saying, like, who do I need to contact directly? Who can I just let know passively? That sort of thing. And the second thing, honestly, has been this sort of stuff, this social media, and that, you know, I'm not a person that's going to get in front of the camera. Give me a microphone and I can sing, and I will give a speech, but I'm not the person that will, you know, necessarily put myself out there in that way. And that has changed. And just, again, reintroducing my personality, because when I'm showing a house, when you're with these people all the time, they see your personality.
Yeah.
And then feel free to show it in this other way and make people laugh, or, you know, remind them of how funny I am, is a pleasure. It has been a real pleasure. And that, honestly, I've been getting messages and they're reaching out to me to be like, oh, that was so funny. I love when you do that again. Yeah. And I was sort of shocked because I was just blindly doing it. You know, it was offered to me. You guys offered this sort of, you know, let's put you in front of the camera. And I did it reluctantly as a team player. And now I was like, well, that was great. That was fun. What else can we do?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And I mean, even the new agents that come in, obviously, like, I'm always pushing them to, you know, be on camera, talk on the camera. It's not just about, I mean, the funny videos and the dancing videos are funny as well, but you have to educate people. People want to know your expertise even before they pick up the phone and call you to either buy or sell with you. So I think it's hugely important. And I push them. Maybe I push them a little bit too hard sometimes, but it's like, you got to get them to do it. And the first time it's like working out. Not that I am a big physical guy, but like it's like building a muscle. You're not going to build a muscle because you pick up a weight once. You got to keep doing it. So over a week. And this is what I tell them: do a video every day for a week, and then, you know, the 8th day, it's just going to be like second nature, and you're just going to like, okay, I can do it. And it's
remembering, fine. I think, you know, hand in hand with the transition and sort of being more on camera is I'm able to have more honest conversation about real estate. You know, if I think of myself 10 years ago, I was a real estate agent. Everyone knew a real estate agent. You could go to a dinner or a party and there could be 10 real estate agents there. We're all there and we're all, and I would probably just say, well, that's my job. And, you know, if you want to buy or sell with me, you know, just give me a call. Now I'm realizing that they want to know that you're friendly, available. We can have these conversations. Real estate's intimidating. You know, I forget that we do this every day, all day long. Yeah. It's second nature. It's a process. It's a procedure. For them, it's a very intimidating first step. Yeah. Whether it's the financial side of it, the commitment side of it, or the fact that they think we're all the realtors that are on HGTV and all of those real estate shows.
Here's 3 houses, pick one.
Yeah, exactly. Show, you know, and all we do is drive around in Bentleys or go on vacation. No, it's showing them like, oh, it's a real job and I'm here to answer your questions, and don't be intimidated. I'll show you mine. If you show me yours, like, don't be scared to ask the questions. Don't be scared to have the conversations. Even if you've bought and sold over 15 years, I've had multiple clients I've worked with time and time again, and each time they're like, "Can you remind me how this goes again?" Yeah. I'm like, no problem. Yeah, easy. And so it's sort of opening yourself up, as you say, on camera and talking more freely to say, to demonstrate, I'm available. I'm easy and available to talk to. We do this all the time. Let me help you with yours. Yeah.
It's so easy as a real estate agent to think, like, you know, like you said, we do this every single day. We write a contract every day. We're so used to these terms and conditions that, you know, to the general public, if you just start talking your lingo and not necessarily explaining it in sort of layman's terms, people don't really get it. And it can be intimidating. Exactly. Like you said, these are huge purchases people are making, whether it's an investment or a home. It's emotional as well for a lot of people. And just being able to disseminate, you know, your personality. People work with who they know, like, and trust, right?
Yes.
And if they know, like, and trust you, and they see what you're online and get to meet you in person, there's just that much more that you can convey in the whole process of real estate.
It makes the process more fluid too, right? Like the technical side, each deal is going to be different. You know, you're buying a waterfront property is going to look different than buying a cottage, than buying a business, than buying this or that. So if you are consistently you, right? If I'm always Courtney and, you know, I'm going to make a joke or I'm going to whatever, it puts them at ease for the things that are going to be more nuanced within the deal, I think.
Yeah. I think we've all sort of dealt with emotions and roller coasters of real estate as well, right? I think we've all kind of had different experiences. Now, have you ever had sort of a contentious or difficult experience, you know, emotion-wise maybe, that you've overcome with some clients?
Sure. In any, especially residential transaction, whether it's a buyer or a seller, someone's going to get emotional at some point. It's bound to happen. And as the professional, on this side. Again, consistency is key. I'm here to help support the deal, support you through this. And what can I bring? I can bring facts. I can bring information. I can bring knowledge, experience. I can be the backbone. I may not be able to be your therapist, right? You're the doctor or the nurse. And sometimes we're the nurse and we hold their hands and we hear their story. And all that does is help to inform what I need to provide to them next. And that likely is going to be something from my toolbox over the 15 years to say, this is what this deal looks like. This is what we know for certain. And so long as all of that's under control, you can have your emotions. You can be, sad to lose your house or maybe it's a divorce or whatever it is. But I'm here to keep, things on track.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you think your most complex, let's get into like the nitty gritty details of some, blanket, we'll call them blanket deals, but like, what do you think was your most complex deal? What one kind of gave you the hardest time?
Sure. So probably the most complex deals are actually my commercial and industrial sales.
Fair, yeah.
There's a lot more at stake with those ones in terms of environmentals, lending, the rules around that just in general. So those are some of the most complex. Probably the most delicate though are the family situations. So the home is being sold or a purchase is happening because, there's, someone's been widowed, there's a divorce, or something, or someone's losing their home or something like that. Yeah. Those ones are tricky. Those ones are really, delicate, as I say. And yeah, there's some contentious sales as well. Sellers are not always happy to be in the position where they have to sell. Yeah. And whether you're representing your seller or you're the buyer's agent on the other side, you have to take it with the grain of salt, sort of what is happening, and stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously you've been in the business for a long time now. What do you think your niche is in the business? Like, I think it's very important that, realtors getting into the business kind of figure out what they're good at, where their strengths are. Mm-hmm. So what would be yours after 15 years?
Probably the area that I've had a lot of success with and ended up there accidentally through various markets is working with private sellers. So I have a buyer client, and they're looking for a property, and we see a private sale, and it's my, role to go in and try to put a deal together there. And I've worked well with private sellers. You have to treat them with respect, right? They don't necessarily want the help of a real estate agent. That's fine. Over, 86% of buyers are working with buyers agents. So, this is common. This should be commonplace. We should be able to manage and handle this. I've had success over the years, multiple times, being able to secure my commission, getting my clients the right price under the right terms, and feeling secure about the sale, right? And then in turn, I've had those private sellers later on down the line call me to represent them when they've been looking to buy or to sell. Because they did like the fact that, I'm as open book as I can be and as straightforward as possible so that they don't feel like they're being handled or managed or sort of, not treated with respect. It's important for my clients, my buyer clients, that they want this house. Yeah. They don't really care how this seller came to market, but they want this home. So let's treat the deal appropriately and all the clients appropriately.
Yeah. That's really great advice. That's really great advice. I think there's a lot of people who sort of hesitate and even some agents who are maybe a little apprehensive to approach a private sale and to negotiate their commission and to get the deal done. But like you said, you're working on behalf of your client. You treat that other party with the utmost respect. You understand that, of course, it can be an emotional sale for them as well. They may be selling not voluntarily. Sure. And, you just treat it the way you would any negotiation, maybe a little bit, with kid gloves, a little bit more delicately. And you've had a lot of success with that. So I think it's a bit of a misconception. A lot of people feel that you can't do it as a realtor. Yes. But your buyer client needs to be protected and needs to have the contracts drawn up appropriately, right?
And I wouldn't want to leave my buyer client out in the wind, right? There is a property, it's on the street you want, it's in the neighborhood you want. Let's do a CMA. It's a little more work, I'd say, on the backside for the realtor. I'm not doing the work for the seller, but I'm facilitating this deal for my buyer, which means giving them some assurances that typically you don't in the same way when you're dealing with an MLS listing. Yeah. But my client hired me. They signed the contract for me to work in their best interest on their behalf. And if this is the property they're interested in, then let's make every effort to make that, a possibility for them.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about how real estate is quite an emotional process for a lot of people. If you had to choose to work with a very emotional buyer or a very emotional seller, which one would you choose? What's your preference?
I will play this game if you guys will answer as well. As I said, someone gets emotional no matter what. I have worked with emotional sellers they are tricky. It is hard for them. There's a lot more hand holding, I would say, in that regard, right? Because again, they're selling their home. They're not selling a house. Emotional buyers, it's a challenge. I do really love the process of working with buyers and finding that home and reassuring them that it will come, it's going to happen, especially in, you know, the market we're dealing in right now. And I had one highly emotional buyer who, you know, I was just there for her. She found her dream home. She loves it. We've become friends. And to this day, she's like, I'm so embarrassed I called you upset one night. And I was like, no, you know, you've got to sort of let me know where you're at. So again, I can figure out how to support you. Yeah. So I do like the challenge of an emotional buyer because I do know the end goal. It's the same with a seller, but I would say right now I'd go buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree on the buyer side. So
Really?
I think buyer as well. Yes. Because my thought is I can work the logic into them. I can show them the numbers to say, this is going to make sense for you long term, right? This is everything you want. You know, maybe you're willing to compromise with this or that or the other thing, but I can also prove to you, I love to show the numbers. I'm like, 5 years from now, this is the equity you will have gained even with no appreciation. And I find especially for single individuals, especially single women, I find it's hard to make that decision sometimes because you're making a big financial decision on your own. And so to be another woman that supports that and to say, look, I understand the numbers here. And, you know, if you can look at it logically, let's work on this together. And sure, a deal or two might fall apart in the process because of an emotional, you know, you just feel like it's just too much. But eventually we will get that person, that perfect house. Yes. They'll be super happy. And 5-10 years down the road, like you said, the client's going to call me back and say, I'm so glad you gave me, you know, what I needed to then make that decision. Like, I'm never going to push anybody into a decision. Yes. But I gave them the necessary tools to make that decision.
And it's the diamond in the rough. It is the optimal home. Finding something in that search is incredibly satisfying for ourselves too in this profession, but obviously for our clients.
Yeah.
I think you guys are both wrong. I'm an emotional seller all day long. Yeah. I think at this stage in my career, I think I'm an emotional seller because the same way you can put logic into a buyer, it irks me sometimes when like you're walking through a house and you know it's the perfect house, but it's like, oh, it's the wrong paint color. It's like that kind of emotion. Like you can talk the kind of logic about numbers and stuff like all day long, and that's fine. But at the same time, for the seller, you can show them the proof. Okay, this house, this comparable, exact same house, this is what it's selling for. And maybe it's not necessarily about price. Maybe it's about other things. But I like sitting across from them at the kitchen table, talking about, you know, the logical why we're doing this. And I think at this stage in my career, I can do that better with a seller than a buyer.
Well, that's why we all make such a great team.
That's right. That's right.
Because when I need support to support my sellers in the right way, I've got you to contact and to call. And when we're on the hunt, and you and I have talked about many deals before working with buyers, you know, not how do you convince them? It's not that. How do you enlighten them? I think my job as a realtor, especially on the buyer side, is if you walk into a house and you love it, it is my job to draw your attention to the things you're not seeing, right? Because as you say, if it's a paint color or it's a kitchen redesign, you're saying, okay, but hold on. The layout, the functionality, how your family works, how does your, you know, these sorts of things. And if you walk into a house and you hate it, it's my job to show you, okay, I'm going to show you what the assets are here and how they actually do meet your needs. I really enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, it's like bringing the reality, either situation, if they love it or they hate it, you have to bring that other side of it so they see all aspects, the good and the bad, and they make an informed decision, right?
Yes.
That's our job.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a couple closing questions for you. Obviously, you've been in the business a long time now. What's next? What are you working on?
Honestly, I feel like this kind of stuff, again, putting myself more in front of the camera, I don't enjoy it, but I do think it has proven to be helpful and informative. and the people within my sphere and you know, beyond have responded really, really well to it. So I think there's more of this in my future. So watch out.
I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna go right back to the beginning. You don't enjoy it. That's what you said, but I think you don't enjoy the thought of it.
Sure.
But once we're done this podcast, we're gonna cut the cameras, and you're gonna be like, that was fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's the reluctant leader, right?
That's right.
I don't really want to do it. That being said, I do think all of these conversations are really important, and all of this information just being really honestly shared with everyone is an incredibly important part of the job. And yeah, I would definitely come back if that's your invitation.
Fantastic. I love your vulnerability and everything that you've said today. What would you say? So we have some agents that we understand in the business who may be feeling stuck, right? Maybe they're feeling stuck where they are, either whether it's business-wise or just the fit brokerage or team-wise. What kind of advice would you give those agents who may be feeling like they're just stuck and not reaching that next level?
Besides joining Sutton Benchmark.
Well, something that I did not do that so many of my colleagues did do and reflect on is interviewing other brokerages, talking to other brokerages and seeing what they have to offer. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's about the bells and the whistles. I do think it's about the support and the environment. The job is incredibly taxing, and you do want a long-term plan. You want a coach that's not there for the season, not there for the deal, is someone that's going to look at your entire body of work and where you're going to go from here. And I think that's beneficial. Having conversations, honest ones, with other agents from other brokerages. You and I did this, Tyler, many, many times. And I do think I was able to persuade you to make a move, unbeknownst to you.
Quite potentially, yes.
Yes. And it was really just talking about what I was experiencing at the time. And that conversation changed over time. And I hadn't really, because again, probably because of COVID, I was not really talking to other agents and talking about what's going on. I was just in my little box. So get out of your box, whether it's joining the board, whether it's going to social events, whether it's just, having a conversation when you're doing a deal with someone to talk about like, how's it going over there? What's going on? I think that's really important. Expose yourself. Don't stay isolated. Don't get stuck in a box. Yeah. Don't get stuck in a little house. Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's for the seasoned agents. What do you think about? Do you have any advice for brand new agents? Let's say they just got their license, they're looking for brokerages. Maybe they have picked a brokerage and they're just working in the business. Like, what's your advice for?
I think about who you are. I mean, agents seem to be coming in younger and younger. Certainly, we all of us had outside experience before we went into real estate, and I did have an identity and a personality, and I honestly sort of forgave all that. I just sort of was like, well, no, I'm going to sell real estate and this is what I'm going to do. I think if you're a young agent, go and have a conversation again, talk to the brokerages, figure out who you are. You don't have to be a personality. You don't have to be famous on TikTok. You don't have to be famous on the internet, but do figure out who you are, because real estate's about a life balance, and your ability to integrate this job into your life is going to be the key to success. And trying to force something or make it work under other people's terms or their dynamic or their systems isn't necessarily going to be a recipe for success.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think talking to other agents, I think, is huge. When I was doing my licensing, we had to go down to Toronto for 2 weeks to do my licensing. I lived with my sister and brother-in-law. They hooked me up with their realtor, and it was one of those, okay, you have to call Joe Saraceni. I'm going to shout him out because he's a Kleinberg, top producer at Kleinberg, and that's who helped them buy their house down in Etobicoke. Anyway, so I called Joe. I'm like, listen, I'm a new realtor, and for the cold calling experience, this is perfect. So I called up Joe, and I'm like, listen, I'm down here doing my licensing. I would really love to have a coffee with you just to kind of see and so he's absolutely Sunday. Come up to Kleinberg. We're gonna meet at this coffee shop, and we'll shoot the shots. Shoot the shots. Yeah, okay. Sure. And so we sat in the coffee shop for a little bit, for about an hour, and he just kind of talked about the business and interviewed me as if he was almost like a broker of record, kind of talking through, what do you want out of the business? Where do you want to go? How do you see yourself? He was an individual agent, still is, but he sells a ton of real estate. So he gave me a couple of different pieces of advice, and I think most agents in the business will do that. If you see somebody that's where you want to be, call that person up, invite them for lunch or breakfast or whatever it is, and just talk.
Yeah.
Just talk.
In my experience, probably prior to some getting licensed, people would approach me and ask me, what do you think? How do you like real estate? That sort of thing. And I give as honest a question as possible. It's a 24-hour day job. It can be really, really taxing. You have to have the personnel. You have to understand it's a longer goal, right? It's not a sale every week and it's closing a week later and you're getting paid all the time. I had many, many conversations where just talking to them maybe help them to realize that it isn't necessarily the right job. I have one great success story, a friend of mine who I said, absolutely, you should be doing this 100%. And she does, and she did. So yeah, conversations with experienced realtors is going to be incredibly valuable, and multiple realtors, right? There's different styles and different types and different models. So definitely exposure. And again, everyone knows a real estate agent. Give them a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great advice.
Okay. So before we end this, let's ask this one question. What is your craziest story in real estate? Talk to us about something that not many people would.
Give us as many details as you can without
revealing anything. You want the dirt.
Yes.
So probably the craziest one was selling a home. It was a contentious sale. I was representing the sellers, and they were in conflict, the two sellers. And so I was making all the attempts I can to get into the home, get it ready, prepare it for showings. And I received a call that the family pet had escaped and was now in the house.
The family cat?
What was the family pet?
No.
The family dog?
It was the bunny.
It was a python. Oh, I get my hair in the back of my neck stands up when I say it. It was a python. I didn't see the python, but I did see the aquarium, the aquarium it lived in, which was huge. It had its own area in the house, and there was a blanket over it. I did think it was empty to begin with.
Oh, okay.
But no, as it turns out, it escaped. And we don't know how it escaped. We don't know. It's never happened before, but it happened during this period of time. And so we had to figure out how we're going to deal with this. And we can't have showings while this python is slithering through the house.
Oof.
And we needed to capture it. So that required infrared cameras, heat lamps, mice, like in live traps.
Oh, yeah.
So, to feed it. And just monitoring it. And they never found it.
They never found it.
No.
Gosh.
Oh,
No.
God.
And there was a crawl space too that I had not known about the house in the house. I had not visited it originally. And then at one point, the expert who they brought in had said, likely it escaped outside. And given the temperature here and it was turning into winter, likely it wouldn't have survived. And so it's somewhere on the property and it was a rural property. So it probably had taken off somewhere further, but likely it's not in the house. And so then I went to go look at the crawl space and I was like, likely is not good enough for me. I'm not going in that crawl space. And I had to warn people. That was the hardest part, was I had to warn the buyer's agents, like
Before they go
just
show the
before they go
property?
show we have agents that won't show houses with cats in them.
Yeah.
To show a house with a python in it. So anyhow,
How big was this python?
I don't know
Okay.
because I never saw it. And I heard various. I heard it was quite large. Like I'm, 5'8", it was longer than my wingspan. I heard others that it was a baby, to which I quickly Googled to realize like a baby python is about 5'8". So I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. Yes. The house sold though, and all was well, but someone somewhere is going to find a dead python on their property.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's what every home buyer wants to
Yeah,
find.
I know. It's talk about a latent defect.
Yeah, no doubt. What's worse, water in the basement or a dead python?
Yeah, exactly. What would you prefer? Exactly. Yeah. So that was wild, unexpected, a new challenge for sure. But we navigated it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Never a dull day in real estate.
No.
Hilarious.
Well, thank you, Courtney, for coming on our podcast, TNT Real Estate Podcast. We appreciate you. You're a great first guest.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week.
If I'm available, sure.
Thanks for tuning into the TNT podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave us a comment, subscribe, and share with a friend who might be interested in real estate.
We'll catch you next time. And until then, stay ahead in real estate.